All right, I do want to start with roster update. I think there's just two that aren't here. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so the two that aren't here, I don't know how much you can say about them, but obviously publicly they've committed and I believe they've signed. But what can you say about the two guys that are overseas, when they might come, and what their status is?
Yeah, so we're waiting on two. Tomislav Buljan from Croatia and Timeo Pons from France. Their status is unknown at the time. Like, timeline it's all out of our control at the moment. So we're just sort of waiting through the student visa situation. That's, every school in the country that has international players, not just specific to basketball, is working through. So as appointments at embassies and consulates become available, we'll work to get those guys here as quickly as possible. Timeo is actually in the under-19 camp to make the under-19 team for the World Championships coming up. So his is less of a visa issue. He would be in that situation, but he's got a little bit of time. If he makes that team, and I think he's optimistic that he's got a good chance to make it, then that could push his timeline back even further, but that would be a great opportunity for him we'd be excited about.
When was the last time you remember going as long as you just did without a basketball practice even to go to, from the end of the season till last week? Basically, you didn't have any players here at all to even do individual workouts. So I'm curious what that stretch was like for you guys as coaches.
It is a completely new experience. It's the longest stretch of my professional career without a basketball practice or workout or any of the above. So very different. Obviously, we had plenty to do. There's lots to do. It just didn't involve being on the court, which was a big adjustment. So it's been last week was great. Like, it was fun to get back on the court, to have guys here, to start to build, although slow, but just starting the process has been enjoyable. Guys showing up for the most part. Almost everyone's here. So, it was a long stretch to not be in the gym. It was something I haven't experienced before, but we're through that part, and we're in the gym now, and we're excited to be there.
Coach, when you were building this roster, you had said that you were going to tailor your schemes to the personnel that you have. Well, you got some personnel now. Have you kind of figured out an offensive and defensive identity for this team? Is it going to look similar to UCSD, different? Can you tell? It's early.
It's a little early. I think that we have the skill sets to play a variety of styles. So I think the versatility in our players and their skill sets lends itself to options for us. And so I think that's part of what the summer is for, to really to really just understand them better. Obviously, we're excited about them. We have film, we have all of the due diligence that we go through in the recruiting process and the vetting process as we put the team together. But until we're on the court and we get reps together and we get to give them instruction and get feedback from them and really understand them as players, it's a little hard to say with certainty exactly how things are going to go in different areas of the game. But I feel really good about the talent level. I feel really good about the versatility. I feel really good about the attitude and the approach that the guys are bringing so far. And so, there's a lot for us to figure out, and we're not going to rush that process. Like, it's easy to kind of get too far down one path, and then it's harder to kind of adjust from there if you do. So, having done this a few times, not with this many new players, but we want to make sure that we're comfortable with the positions we're putting them in, and that we're confident that it's the ideal situation for everybody before we really pick a path and go too far down those roads.
Chris had kind of talked to us about the schedule, kind of what they've been doing at least the last 2 weeks, but what's the summer look like before classes start? Like, what are the short-term goals for this team?
We just want to make as much progress as we can, build basic concepts and fundamental aspects of what we're doing and get really comfortable in those. Guys are doing a good job. They come in the morning, get their shooting in and their some skill work, and they doing a good job in the weight room. And then we're a little bit limited. We have a little less than an hour most days from a practice standpoint. So it's hard to really get as much done as you'd like, and kind of there's a patience involved with it that is a challenge because it's kind of slow, and we just kind of day by day try to make a little bit of progress. But again, having done this a few times, like we're gonna look up in 4 weeks and feel like, oh wow, we've really made a lot of progress, right? Like we're gonna come back in September. By the time September rolls around, and be like, wow, look where we are now. And so, kind of knowing what's coming and knowing that it is a slow process, and I think our guys have done a great job of just bringing a lot of juice every day. Pretty good focus on the things that we need to do to make progress, and little by little we'll get where we need to be.
So talking about that, the process of progressing, and as Will put it, expansion, team, a lot of new players. How crucial is it to have a guy like Chris and Milos who know the system? I know you said you could play multiple ways, but to have that voice of reason and that leadership,
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate to have Chris Howell in our program. Any team in the country would be fortunate to have Chris in their program. I think you can see what kind of person he is just as he talks about things and answers questions. Like, we feel really fortunate to have someone like him in the program. Having him in the program and having him play for us for a year previous is even more helpful. He really does a great job. He talked a lot about trying to create a connected group, and he's a big part of that. He's just one of those guys that connects people on and off the floor, and really adds a lot of value. I think he's a really impactful basketball player. He impacts winning at a high level, and not all of what a small percentage of what he contributes shows up in the box score of points scored or all that stuff. Like it's a lot bigger than that with Chris and how he impacts everyone around him. And we're really fortunate to have someone like him in the program. And we don't have a lot of guys who have played for us, but we're fortunate to have the ones we do.
And then I'm just curious, talk to Chris about how the Lobo fandom and stuff here. Now that you've been here for a while, have you noticed it even more, people stopping you and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been great. There was a couple months there before my family moved out, where I was back and forth, basically every week trying to get home to see my family for the weekends, or at least part of the weekends when visits would allow. And I don't think I made it through the airport on any of those trips without somebody stopping and introducing themselves, or talking about Lobo basketball, or telling me where their seats are and how long they've had season tickets. Like, it's a special place, and you feel that right from the start.
Coach, I'm interested about Chris. He seems like a glue guy, and he was, fast to push the leadership role to somebody else, but well-spoken. Guys follow him to church. Is he that glue guy for your team?
Yeah, he's just someone that he's a great person, right? He's fun to be around on the court, off the court. I think he has his priorities and values in a great place, knows who he is, knows who he is as a player and a person. He's comfortable in his own skin. Like, I think that level of authenticity really lends itself well to leadership, right? And so he doesn't have to do anything other than be himself to kind of land in that leadership position. And given his experience with us and our staff, I think it's also kind of a natural position like that. That's why he's sitting here today. But I also think he's adept enough at being a teammate and being part of a group that he's going to leave room for other people, right? He understands that leadership isn't a one-man job, and that he has to make space for others to also be themselves and be authentic and kind of naturally or organically find those roles. So, that's some of what I was talking about earlier when I said not everything that he does shows up, but he is a huge part of creating a winning environment on and off the court.
Hi, Coach. Ruby Aurora with KOAT7. You previously stated that you patented your style of play from a plethora of sources. Is there anything that you may, quote, steal from Coach Pitino's game?
That's a great question. I think the one thing that that I thought they did a great job of that we'd like to copy, for lack of a better word, was the pace that they played with on offense. I thought they really did a fantastic job of turning defense into offense, playing with great pace offensively. They were excellent in transition. I think that we have a team that's capable of doing some of those similar things. I think we have really good length and athleticism. I think we have a lot of depth. So given our elevation, some of those other factors with our roster, we'd like to play pretty fast. We'll see how that works out. Like that, everyone says they want to play fast until you actually have to do it, but we'll see. We would like to play fast, and I thought that's something they did an excellent job of, was really using the tempo to their advantage to create some really efficient offense with, with their combination of skill sets. Like I thought that made a lot of sense, was a smart decision, and paid off for them.
And your success with UC San Diego last season, you guys had 30 games and you guys went to the NCAA tournament. There was a recipe for that success, and you quoted it being a very unselfish team with many individual accolades. Do you think that applies with this year's roster?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true just across team sports and kind of almost transcending sport. Like that team that we had last year, that was the most unselfish group that I'd ever been a part of. And then they were, ironically, individually recognized at the highest level that, again, of any group that I've been a part of, where they won, individuals won all the awards and all the things from, and I think that it takes a mature approach to understand that team success lends itself to that sort of recognition. And, I think that it's kind of true in everything, right? Like if you're able to kind of pour all your energy into other people or other things outside yourself, like you'll get that back. Like that'll come back to you. I think that's true beyond just basketball. And I thought our team last year was a good representation of that. And that's something that we'd love to recreate. And we tried to identify and recruit players who kind of think about that in a similar way, who like being part of a team, who kind of understand the idea of being the value in being part of something bigger than yourself.
Coach, I know you were asked this when you first arrived on campus, but now that you have a team and you've gotten them together and you're sort of formulating in your head the way they might play, thinking about your first opportunity to coach a team in the pit and what the pit might mean to this team and what it means to this community and what it means to this program and how your guys fit in and the excitement that brings, what is that feeling like for you?
Yeah, it's just exciting. Like I think that's something that people have been asking about and I've been thinking about and looking forward to since I got the job offer, and it's hard for me to answer because I don't have the experience yet of coaching a game or participating in a game in the pit. But I also think like the pit is part of what makes Lobo basketball special. It's a foundational part of this program, of this community, and I think the pit is forever, right? And it doesn't matter who the coach is or if all the players are returning or if they're new. That's a foundational aspect of this place and this program, right? And so, yeah, we're all really excited about experiencing that and being part of that. But without firsthand experience, it's pretty hard to answer all the questions about what it's like, but I am looking forward to it. And it's something that that I've been thinking about since I took the job and walked in the building, and all these guys who came on their visits and did the same thing probably have those similar feelings.
I want to ask you about the recruiting process, about how it came to be to build this team, because look, in any given year, you're probably trying to replace 6 or 8 guys, and you can build around a Jalen House or a Jamal Mashburn or a Nelly Jr. Joseph. You didn't have any of that when you came here. So did you start with a core group of recruits that you knew you were going to get and then just try to build around them, or was it just get the best available guy at each position?
I mean, we didn't start with anything in terms of, a core group. We didn't have any of that, but, we were hopeful some of those guys would come with us. We were fortunate to have Chris and Milos come. The 2 high school guys we signed, so they were all pretty pretty early on communicating that they wanted to come and be part of it. So we had, three or four there right from the start. And then from there, we're just trying to build the best team we can, and we try to allow each decision to influence the next one, right? So we sort of have a plan of how we want to build it. We have an idea of who we're looking for, but you don't get all the players you recruit. We recruited, a lot more players than, said no than yes in terms of that process and as you go through it. But each decision is tied to the next. Each skill set impacts who should fit in with them or who complements the ones that we already have in the program. So as decisions get made, the board sort of shifts. Guys can move up or down based on other people's decisions. Like everybody's sort of connected in that way. We're not trying to put together just a collection of talent, right? Like we want it to be a team in every sense, and how we construct the roster. We put a lot of time and effort and thought into each of those decisions.
Then I wanted to ask you too about just what life has been like for you personally since you got here, because aside from being the head coach and the chief recruiter and the face of the program, you have to move your entire family here. You've got younger kids. You got to sell a house. You got to buy a house. Plus, you got all these recruits coming in, their families, the assistant coaches, and you're trying to put yourself out in public. How chaotic has life been for you the last couple months?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but it was definitely a new experience. I'd been in one place for over 20 years, so we hadn't moved a lot. It was a lot to pack and throw away from that house. But no, it's been great. Certainly chaotic and overwhelming at times, and just all the things to get done in a short amount of time. But now it's great. My family's here. My daughters who are 7 and 9 and just wrapped up first and third grade, that they finished right at the end of May. So we were letting them finish the school year. And then I think we left the last day of school. Like their last day of school, we flew out that night, and movers showed up the next day. And so we were here in our house on June 1st. And so that's been great. That's been the biggest thing, was just having my family out here and us like living in our house and not being in the hotel. I'm a big fan of the Albuquerque hotels. I stayed in several of them, and that was great. We appreciate that. But no, it's been really nice to have my family here, and a few less Southwest flights back to San Diego, and so yeah, no, we're loving it. It's been a great experience, but we're super excited to be settled here.
Coach, any comments on the Mountain West teams? Obviously, you're familiar with San Diego State, and you'll be playing the Mountain West teams for maybe a year or so. Any comments on the Mountain West and the ever-changing things that are going on in conferences?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic league. We're excited to compete in it. I know that it's full of really talented players and coaches, and that it's a high level of basketball, and we expect to compete every night with those teams. In terms of the future, we're excited to see what that looks like, and where we sort of fall in the new look Mountain West, and all of that is a little bit to be determined at this stage. And our approach to that kind of stuff is really just focus on what we can control. And so once we kind of have more information about what everything looks like, we'll figure out what's the best way for us to navigate it and try to have as much success as possible. But really excited about what this conference looks like from a basketball standpoint. I think it's a really talented league again, a bunch of good teams that hopefully will provide the type of resume building opportunities that you want as a high level basketball team. So we're excited about it.
All right, it's June. I'm not going to try and crack the code on like what your team's going to be like on the court. You've had them a week, so I know you're still learning some of them a lot of the way. I do want to know though. First off, when they ran the mile, was that just today? Did he say, or was it yesterday?
Yeah, this morning.
It was this morning. Were you there?
I was there. Yeah.
What did it look like? Is Darren Gosling going to come asking for any of your players?
I don't know if Darren could use them, but I thought our guys did a pretty good job of pushing themselves, and we might have a guy or two that could help. I'm not sure Kevin Patton can do the long jump, or
Probably not the mile.
Dayton Albury is probably more of a sprinter. You know, those Bahama guys are pretty good on the short distances. So we'll see.
And then the other thing, all these nice things being said about Chris, and I'm sure he's a great guy, but like him and Mikey got to go at it, right? Like if they play against each other, who's going to win?
I mean, I can't publicly answer that question, but I will say that Mikey helps us in practice, right? Like he's still young enough, he can play, like he can jump in the drills. I would say that there's nothing that frustrates Chris more in a practice than Mikey having any kind of success, right? Like that probably frustrates Chris more than anything else that happens in a practice. I could say anything, but like if Mikey wins a drill or has success in practice like that bothers Chris more than anything. They're super competitive family, and it's a fun dynamic, and it was cool to be around last year, and it's for like they're great people, but they're competitors, and it's fun to watch them kind of work together, and they have a pretty special relationship.
Coach, you got 12 guys here, 2 on the way, possibly 1 roster spot left. Is there a positional need that you're looking at with that 1 more spot?
No, I don't think that we have any needs at this point.
Just kind of it's a broad question, but just like when guys are coming in, what's your main message? Do you have like something you write on the whiteboard that's motivational or anything? Like what are you telling this team, the main message?
Oh, our approach right now is just to improve and get better. You know, I know Chris mentioned some motivational stuff about what I do, but really we just had good players, like you know. So yeah, our approach is just, you know, to get better every day. You know, we want them to have good focus, have good energy, like take care of the things that they can control on a daily basis. And like I said earlier, we'll look up in September and realize like we made a ton of progress. So no main message or theme. It's just about coming in and trying to get better every day. And I think we'll like where we end up if we do that.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for being here, everyone.